The Boxcar Children, Mystery Ranch by Gertrude Chandler Warner. Chapter 5. A Day at the Ranch. Sam the neighbour woke the girls the next morning bringing the milk. The girls could hear Maggie in the kitchen. "Shh, shh, Sam Weeks. You'll wake those girls." "I want them to wake," said Sam. "I want to see them." He began to whistle. The girls laughed while they washed their faces in the big wash bowl in their room. They dressed quickly. They wanted to see Sam too. "Well, well," he said as they came into the kitchen. "I hear you came to see your Aunt Jane. Are you planning to stay here all summer?" "Sam!" cried Maggie. "How do they know?" "We really don't know how long we'll stay," said Jessie, "and we don't know how long Aunt Jane will want us." "I'm worried about you," Sam said. "I'm afraid you won't get enough food. Maggie had to eat at our place when she got real hungry." "Well," answered Jessie, dropping some eggs into the hot water, "we can buy food. Grandfather gave me some money." "I hope your aunt will let you eat it after you get it," said Sam. He turned to go. He stopped at the door and turned to Maggie. "A stranger got off the train last night," he said. "Yes, we know," cried both girls. "That's right. You would know," said Sam. "We call him our mystery man," said Jessie. "He's a mystery all right," said Sam. "I noticed him because not very many people get off that fast train." Sam watched the three people sit down at the pretty table. He turned and walked quickly out of the kitchen door. Sam smiled as she poured hot milk on a piece of toast. "A little salt," she laughed, "and Aunt Jane's breakfast is ready." She carried the plate into Aunt Jane's bedroom. "More food, I suppose?" said Aunt Jane. "That's right," said Jessie. "It's milk toast. Delicious. Now, while you eat, I'll tell you our plan. Maggie is taking us to the store this morning to buy food, and while we are near the station, we'll send a telegram to Grandfather. We'll tell him we are having a fine time." "A fine time, poof," said Aunt Jane. "But it's true, Aunt Jane," said Jessie quietly. "We love the ranch already. It's a beautiful place." "I'm the only person who has ever really liked this ranch," her aunt said. She began to eat her breakfast. Jessie watched her. "She seems almost starved. If she is hungry, why doesn't she want to eat?" Jessie said to herself. Jessie picked up the empty plate and left the room quietly. When Jessie came back into the kitchen, she saw Maggie at the back door with the horse and wagon. To her surprise, Violet was already on the seat. "Don't we lock the door?" she asked. "No, we never do. Nobody ever comes here," said Maggie. "Go on, old boy." As the horse walked slowly along, the girls made up a telegram to send to their grandfather. Tom Young, the station agent, sent the telegram. "A telegram every day. Quite an exciting town," he said. Just then they heard a train whistle. "The train goes the other way every morning," said Maggie. "Do you want to watch it come in?" They saw the train come into the station. Nobody got on and nobody got off. "That's the way it always is," said Maggie. "Soon the train won't stop at Centerville any more. It doesn't pay." Maggie and the girls went to the store. They brought enough groceries to last a week and loaded them into the wagon. The old horse walked even slower than usual going home because of the load. When they came back to the ranch, they found Aunt Jane very cross. "Humph!" she said to Maggie. "You go off riding all over the country and leave me here alone so that anything can happen." "But, Miss Jane," Maggie said, "what could possibly happen to you out here?" "I was nearly fooled into selling this ranch. That's what could have happened," the little old lady answered. "Now, Miss Jane, this must be another one of your strange ideas," Maggie said. "Strange, is it? Well, look at this." She pulled a paper from beneath her pillow. Maggie and the girls came closer to the bed to see what it said. It was an offer to buy the ranch for $10,000. "Think of it," Aunt Jane said. $10,000 for my ranch. But I told those three men that my ranch isn't for sale at any price. I have other plans for it." "Dear Aunt Jane," said Violet softly, "do you mean 3 men came into your room?" "Yes," replied Aunt Jane, "but don't you worry, my dear. I could manage them." Aunt Jane leaned her head back to her pillows again. "Go away now. All this excitement has made me tired." Maggie and the girls went into the kitchen. "I think she would be glad to get rid of the place at any price," said Maggie. "I'm glad she didn't sell it, though," said Violet. "It's such a beautiful ranch. I wonder what plans she has for it." Chapter 6. Golden Chimney. "We'll have a real dinner today," laughed Jessie. "Maybe Aunt Jane will eat some of this good food if I don't give her too much." "I doubt it," said Maggie. "She hasn't eaten a real meal in 2 years." Jessie was right. Maggie was amazed when she saw Aunt Jane's empty dishes. "You girls certainly have a way with you," she said. "I have never seen her eat so much." After the dishes were washed, Jessie softly opened her aunt's door. Again Aunt Jane looked as if she had been lying there waiting for something to happen. "Well," she said, "what do you want now?" Jessie spoke softly. "Violet and I wondered if we could explore this house." "Go ahead," said her aunt. "There are no secrets here that I know of." "No mysteries?" laughed Jessie. "No," said Aunt Jane. "There are no mysteries, but it is a strange house. You'll find that it was built a little at a time. There are really 4 parts to the house." As Jessie started to go out, her aunt called, "Be sure to look at the big chimney on the other side of the house. It is the prettiest thing here. It was made of stone from our own mountain." "We will," said Jessie. The 2 girls smiled at each other and went into the front room. "Let's explore the whole house," said Jessie. Violet laughed. I wonder why we love to fix up old houses." The girls stepped into the front hall. They went across to the other side and found themselves in a front room like the one they had just left. "This side of the house is exactly like the other one," said Jessie. "See, here is the kitchen, the little bedroom, 2 front rooms and a side door." "And here is the chimney and the fireplace," said Violet. "Isn't it beautiful?" "The stone is smooth and shiny," cried Jessie. "See the tiny spots of yellow. Could they be gold?" "They look brighter yellow than gold," said Violet. "The black spots are pretty too." Upstairs they found 8 bedrooms. "What fun it would be to put on new paper and paint," said Jessie. Violet had opened the door of a little room right over Aunt Jane's. "Oh, what a beautiful room," she whispered. "Do come and look." It was the loveliest room in the house. The old wallpaper was soft rose colour. The window had fine white curtains. The small bed was high, like the big one in their bedroom, but this one had a top covered with white curtains like those in the window. "I wonder who fixed this room," said Violet. "Wouldn't it be pretty with violets on the wallpaper? I would love to live in this room." "It looks just like you, Violet," said Jessie. The girls finished their exploring and went back downstairs. When they walked back to the kitchen, they heard Aunt Jane calling Maggie. Violet went in to see what she wanted. "Did you see the chimney?" asked her aunt. "Yes," said Violet. "It is beautiful." "The stones came from our mountains," said Aunt Jane. "We thought once that those mountains were full of gold, but the gold was not real. The yellow and black spots make the chimney look very pretty, though," Violet said. "Yes, that was one reason why my father used the stones for the chimney," her aunt answered. "And he also said that the chimney would always be a lesson to him. Every time he looked at it, he could remember how he had to work hard for everything worth having. That way he wasn't too disappointed that he had not found a lot of gold. "This is really a beautiful house," Violet said. "There are so many pretty things here. Tell me, Aunt Jane, who fixed the little bedroom right over this one?" Aunt Jane was very quiet for a minute. Violet thought she was not going to answer. Then she said, "That was my room once," she said. She had tears in her eyes. The boys, Chapter 7, The Boys Come. 2 days passed before Maggie finally spoke her mind. She was feeling much better now, with 3 delicious meals a day, and she enjoyed having someone to talk to. Maggie and the 2 girls were sitting on the back steps enjoying the cool evening breeze. The dinner dishes were done, and the first stars had come out over the ranch. "Maybe I haven't any right to ask," Maggie began, "but I wonder what your grandfather is going to do about your aunt. She needs some care all the time. You girls can't stay here all summer." "Maybe we can," said Violet softly. "We love it here, and I think Aunt Jane is used to having us now." "There is one thing that's missing, though," said Jessie. "Yes, I know," said Violet. "We both miss the boys." Violet looked very sad. "Maybe Aunt Jane would let the boys come too," said Jessie. "Then it would be perfect." She looked at her sister. "Let's ask her tomorrow," Violet said, and the 2 girls went upstairs to bed. Next morning, Jessie took a fine breakfast into her aunt's room. The little lady began to eat, and Jessie sat down beside the bed. "We miss Henry and Benny, Aunt Jane," she began. "Couldn't we ask them to come for a few days? I'm sure Grandfather would let them come if you were willing." "Well," said her aunt, "I'd agree to that." The little lady looked up from her breakfast. "But I don't want to see James. Remember that," she said. "Grandfather is really very nice when you get to know him," said Jessie. Aunt Jane gave a short laugh. "Don't forget that I knew your grandfather long before you did. If these 2 boys turn out like him, back they go." Jessie was sorry to hear her aunt talk like that. She did not answer. It was the best thing she could have done. Miss James was beginning to love the smiles on these 2 young faces. What could she say to make Jessie happy again? She wondered. "Tell Benny to bring his dog," she said. What a smile came over Jessie's face. She did not say that Watch was not Benny's dog, but hers. She said, "Oh, that's wonderful. Watch will love this ranch, and we'll keep him out of your rooms, I promise." "Well, don't promise that," said Aunt Jane. "I like dogs in my room, if they are good dogs." "Watch is a wonderful dog," said Jessie. "He saved our lives once." The girls went to the station and sent their daily telegram. The next day they got an answer from Benny. His telegram said, "Henry and I will come on the same train you did, bringing Watch, bringing you more clothes. Love to Aunt Jane, Benny." What a happy family it was when the 4 children were finally together in Aunt Jane's kitchen. "You take the boys right in to see Aunt Jane," said Jessie, holding Watch by a strap. "I'll keep Watch with me." The boys followed Violet into the bedroom. Aunt Jane was almost sitting up against her pillows. Her blue eyes were very bright. "Hello, Aunt Jane," said Benny, going over to the bed. "I'm Benny, and aren't you a cute little lady?" Aunt Jane was taken by surprise, and she almost smiled. "And I suppose you are Henry," she said. "Yes, we are sorry you are sick," Henry answered. He hardly knew what to say to this strange woman. "Who said I was sick?" asked Aunt Jane. "Well, you certainly don't look like your grandfather." "No, I'm afraid not," said Henry. "No need to be afraid about that," answered Aunt Jane. "I'm glad you don't look like him. And where's that big dog I've heard about?" "Jessie, bring in Watch," called Henry. Everyone watched to see what the dog would do. He walked over to the bed and looked at the little old woman. Then he sat down and pulled out his paw. "He wants to shake hands," cried Benny, delighted. "Shake hands with him, Aunt Jane. You don't want to hurt his feelings." For a minute the children thought their aunt was angry, but to their surprise she sat up and shook hands with the dog. "Good dog," she said, lying back again. Watch threw back his head and looked at Jessie. His mouth was open. "Oh, Aunt Jane, he's laughing," cried Benny. "He likes you." "Well, well," said Aunt Jane, "I'm glad the dog likes me at least. You can go now and eat, and shut the door when you leave. I'm very tired from all the excitement." The children went back into the kitchen and sat around the table talking. "Isn't Aunt Jane a surprise?" asked Jessie. "She certainly is," said Henry, "but I like her." Jessie said, Just guess what I think. Which one of us will do the most to make Aunt Jane well again?" And the three voices answered together, "Watch." Chapter 8. Aunt Jane's Nurse. The next day was one of Aunt Jane's bad days. The boys went off gladly to look at the ranch when they saw how cross she was. "Now, Jane," the girls heard Maggie saying, "you let me wash your hands and face." "No," was the sharp answer. Watch looked at the door and raised one ear. "I don't know what to do with you," cried Maggie. "No breakfast, no washing, no clean bed. What do you want me to do?" "Do you want the window opened?" "No, this room is too cold already," the little lady said. "You said a minute ago it was too hot." "Well, it was, a minute ago." "Oh, dear me," said Maggie. The girls looked at each other. The dog stood up and looked at the door. Violet put the last pile of dishes in the cupboard, and suddenly Maggie came from the bedroom. She shut the door behind her. She was almost crying. "Girls, I can't do a thing with your aunt today. She was like this all the time before you came. But I did think she was getting over it." "I wonder what she would say to me if I went in," said Violet. "I'd like to try." "Are you sure?" asked Jessie. "Maybe she would be cross to anyone today." "Never mind if she is, Jessie," answered her sister. "It won't hurt me." "Of course it will hurt you if she says mean things," cried Jessie, "and it will hurt me too." "I'd still like to try," said Violet. "Just let me have the soap." Violet knocked softly on the door to her aunt's bedroom. It's Violet, Aunt Jane. May I come in?" "All right, come in," said her aunt. Violet went in quietly and put some newspapers in the chair by her aunt's bed. On the papers she put a big washing bowl. Into the bowl Violet poured hot water. "It's such a hot day," she began pleasantly. "I think hot water makes you feel cooler, don't you?" "Well, maybe," said Aunt Jane. She watched the pretty little girl. "I've been sick a lot myself," Violet went on, "and one of my nurses told me that." Violet took one of the thin little hands and washed it gently with hot soapy water, and then she dried it with a soft towel. "I take care of the family when they are sick," said Violet. "Some day I am going to be a nurse." She washed the other hand, and then she pushed Aunt Jane's white hair back and washed her face. She was drying her aunt's face when Watch walked slowly into the room, wagging his tail. Aunt Jane looked at him. "I don't feel like playing with you today," she said. "Go right back to the kitchen." Without a sound, Watch started for the kitchen, and then he turned and looked at Violet. Violet said, "You're a nice dog, Watch, and I love you, but Aunt Jane said for you to go back to the kitchen." Watch gave them both a look and turned sadly to go. His tail did not wag. "Never mind," cried Aunt Jane. "Come back. You can stay. I never saw a dog that minds us as well as you do. Come here if you want to." Watch almost jumped across the room. He put his paws up on the white bed. "No," said Violet. "Yes," said Aunt Jane. We never let Watch get up on the beds, said Violet softly. I always let my dog lie on my bed, said Aunt Jane. Watch looked first at one and then at the other. Up, said Aunt Jane. Watch gave a great jump and landed on the other side of the little lady. He lay down and put his head on his paws. He was not sure that he had done the right thing. He kept looking at Violet. Violet was watching her aunt smile at Watch. She was sure that Watch had done the right thing.